Am I on?
Yep.
It's prepared.
I ate breakfast.
It is 10:01. I will call this meeting to order. For Utilities Commission meetings. Ms. Owen, you have the roll call handled. Everybody's here.
I do.
Good. First item is the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, comments?
The only thing I have, Mr. Chair, is if you want, we can swap items 3 and 4. Since you haven't had the meeting, to get that taken care of, and then we can go over our normal business.
Okay. So we'll move forward next. Everybody first.
Oh, we have the motion to approve the agenda, so 3 and 4. Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. There's none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. On to number 4.
So number 4 is in regards to an annual activity that this commission has sponsored, which is the scholarship program. And to recap, we do an essay contest. We select a winner, and that winner then gets forwarded on to the statewide MMUA competition for the Tom Bowles Award. And so we did award winning scholarship this year, and there was some news at the state level as well. So we actually have Steve Downer from MMUA in attendance, and I'd like to invite Steve up to talk about MMUA participation in this event. Yes, if you turn that on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and staff. I'm Steve Downer of the Minnesota Municipal Utilities Association, and thank you for having me. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Princeton Public Utilities for its steadfast support over the years, and Keith Butcher and staff for their support of the MMUA Tom Bowles Memorial Scholarship Award Contest. The big difference between public power and other utilities is an idea.
Project.
I'll try and speak up. That it's an idea. The big difference between public power and other utilities, that electricity is a service to be provided rather than a commodity to profit from, and that this service is best provided locally by those most affected and concerned. Jeffrey captured that in his essay, where he explored PPU's many advantages. He concisely explained how and why PPU makes a difference as it serves the city. MMUA would like to thank you and acknowledge your living up to its values and working to impart them to a new generation. With that, I'd like to thank Jeffrey for his efforts, congratulate him. Thank you.
The photo guys in the back.
Okay.
Won't take that long.
Okay, I would like to get one with the full commission, if that's okay. Can I have you guys just step aside to say? Jeffrey. I'd like to get one more with Steve. And you guys as well, Steve, wouldn't mind. Staying on the other side of the chamber.
Typical Greg, you got a bracket at the top.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Yes, it is. Thank you. Just follow up on the scholarship. We did, I did have Steve do a little bit of research for me, just to put this in context for us. Since MMUA started the town Overton Board, which was in 1996, Jeffrey is the third person to win at the state level. The first year that the scholarship was offered was 1996 with Mark Benny, who was one of the top four. They did not have first place, second place assigned at that time. They just offered 4 scholarships. And then in 2009, Amber Bonnie tied for third place. So Jeffrey is the first one that has officially won first place in the statewide from Princeton. So really hats off to him.
First of all, congratulations. Congratulations from the commission. Well done. Jeff. Well done. Okay. Let's move on. Public comment section. I'd like to read you the preface to the public comments. Public comments.
Sorry, we do have approval of minutes.
I thought
No, we
we had a motion.
We flipped it. We flipped it to do the scholarship award first.
Oh,
We
okay.
still have to do the approval of that.
Do we need a motion for that?
For the minutes? Or?
Minutes. Okay, get me on track.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. A, B, and C.
Well, I do.
Or you want to go through?
I do.
There's corrections.
Okay.
Okay, I thought those corrections were.
This is, you have yes.
This is from the email I got. Right?
Correct.
So I'll make a motion to approve with corrections. On the,
As they're seen here.
as they're seen here, what are we going to say that?
It just as amended, I guess.
That's amended. Okay.
I do have that one, and in addition, there is a second, there is another correction on the joint meeting. At the very end, there was it was incorrect. It's stated at the end that there being no further business, Mr. Erickson made a motion to adjourn the meeting at 6:09 p.m. And Mr. Schwartz seconded. Mr. Schwartz had left the meeting prior to that. Mr. Hanson seconded. So that was a correction of joint meeting minutes as well. So
It's the time and myself. We didn't turn it 12:02.
oh, no, I have that. Yes, I have that 6:09. Is the official minutes. Yes, the both of those are correct.
And then in B, I just wanted to discuss where I have highlighted feels that one council member should be allowed to hold a seat at PUC. Dan, I think you made that comment. Are you, is your intention to have one council member and a liaison? Or would that council member be if that were to happen?
Well, I guess my thoughts on it were just as you voted. Because the liaison is not focusing. Liaison would be fine too. Also,
My question is, if the liaison should give with input, which you certainly do, and I appreciate that.
I wouldn't see the purpose of a liaison. Council member was on there.
That's my point.
Basically, they're reporting
That's my
reporting
point.
back to the council. You know, someone's there by that redundancy. Yeah.
If you have both, it's almost a,
My statement was mostly about the vote, but I seen some danger in maybe having, controlling majority of the city council.
That's my concern and why I asked this question. What was the effect of that? So,
And just to be clear, was it that there should be one or there should be no more than one?
No more
So there's a place for that, but I think that was the intention as a result.
than, yeah, I can't recall exactly what was said.
Yeah.
So is there a change to the minutes?
Well, in part B, the part that Rick brought up, he brings that, and Erickson clarified that he'd like to see an increase to 5-member commission. He feels only one council member should be allowed, and perhaps it should say no more than one. Just to be clear, but, you know, there might, in other words, it's not required that a council member be on the commission, but that one may be on. I think that, yeah. Will that be clear in that?
Okay, so you want it changed to who feels no more than one?
Correct.
Okay, so I have it up on the screen here. So currently the sentence reads, Commissioner Dan Anderson clarified that he would like to see an increase to a 5-member commission. He feels, and the question is, no more than one council member should be allowed to hold this commission.
Okay, so let me back up and ask, there was, so we made this correction, and there was on the original minutes of the councils, or the commission session, there was a correction made, and then there were additions made. It's just, they're all in red here, so I don't know which ones are which.
Well, what I have is a form red line document for you. And it's in regards to the conversation on Sugar Lakes. The intent was to explain that the developer's proposal is that it would be a 12-inch public water main extending through the system to County Road 2. And the other parts of the development would be an 8-inch private water main. And their proposal is a combination of public and private sewer mains. And then there was an addition added in for the second sentence in the next paragraph regarding Sugar Village. That breaks it.
Okay, so we changed that, 8-inch private. That was a correction.
Yes.
the one above that was the 12-inch 2, Hollywood 2.
Yeah.
That was just stated in the first one.
So, can approve the minutes with those changes. Okay. I want to make sure that they're correct. But when it comes to adding on, I don't want to get in the habit of magnifying the minutes, and the minutes should be fairly concise. So, I'm concerned that start adding on something that may or may not be superfluous to what's going on in the commission. I want to make sure that they're absolutely correct. So we've made an error. That was fixed. And I'm happy with what's here as add-on. I think we need to be cautious about adding on what we put in the minutes. It can become a whole open. That's my only concern, but there are no other.
Yeah, if I may, at least the direction that's that we can give it. They're not going to be verbatim, but they are going to be a summary of the activity. The benefit that we have nowadays is we are recording. So we can have a full record.
Right.
And so the typical strategy is a summary.
be corrections, not additional language from someone else.
You're here. Okay, so we have a motion to accept these minutes as corrected.
Just wanted to comment, I don't know if it's necessary or not, but when it's at the end of C, when it says PP, you commissioner, which was up to D, it sounds like I left it in case. I add to another engagement.
Well, typically, you don't know or ask why people are.
Yeah, it's just that it's after the credit card fee thing, which I've been pushing, so it says it's reflect me. So,
I think, the minutes are, it was started because that was the only way to record it. But keep the same, at this point, really, I think it's kind of redundancy. Although I don't know if the recordings are archived.
They are, they're all available on YouTube.
So,
they can just be worded in a way
yeah,
that it may give a different color to it,
yeah.
and that should happen.
Well, that's the times we did it too.
Yeah, I second the motion.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. No. Now we have public comment, right?
Yes, sir.
So let me read the statement that regarding public comments, part of every commission meeting. It's an opportunity for anyone wishing to address the commission on a matter that is before or not before the commission on the agenda. Just a reminder, we have guidelines about public comments, and anyone indicating a desire to speak will be acknowledged by the chair. Before you begin, please state your name, address, and topic. Remarks should be addressed to the commission as a whole, not to any specific member or any person who's not a member of the commission. There are a number of individuals present to speak on the same topic. We urge that you designate a spokesperson to summarize the issue. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. During visitor presentations, commission and staff will listen to your comments. We will not necessarily engage in discussion, but commissioners or the general manager may ask questions in order to gain a thorough understanding of your concerns, suggestions, and requests. Lastly, please be aware that disrespectful comments or comments of a personal nature directed at any individual, either by the name or reference, will not be allowed. Personal concerns should be directed to the general manager. If there is anything you would like to address the council on that, if it's not on the agenda, now is your time. Sir.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Randy Hatch. Those who don't know me, I'm wearing my Legion hat today, just so you know where I'm coming from. American Legion Post 216 here. I have a little statement, if you don't mind. Please. Thank you. Okay. Dear Commission, for several years, businesses and individuals have generously contributed towards the cost of funding the July 4th fireworks display. This year, the American Legion Post 216 is sponsoring the fabulous 4th of July fireworks event, also in partnership with the Mille Lacs County Fair Board, Watch for Times, and some pre-fireworks family fun activities. Every year, the crowds get larger and more anticipated, and businesses who contribute make this event possible. Our small but enthusiastic group is committed to making sure that this year's event generates more oohs and ahs than ever before. This year, the fireworks are going to be fired off July 4th on Sunday. We are hopeful that the businesses and organizations of Princeton will support the tradition and make sure that youth understand that 4th of July is more than just another day off. If you agree with this tradition and that needs to be continued, then we need your help. There's some other corrective stuff on here, who to get hold of and all that. I'll just share that. And y'all can have that. That was generated from our post finance officer, Art Scarlett, and he's not here. He's meeting one of his grandchildren's ships down in California right now, the carriers coming in. That's a big deal to him, so I post engineer, I'm here just to say, please, think about us on the Fourth of July. Lordy, it's nice to have a place to meet, wonderful to get together like this again, it's really a blessing, and I gotta tell you, thank you for letting me speak. Do you have any questions?
Thanks for coming in. Does Art or anybody from VFW have a specific amount that they're looking for? Legion. Oh,
Okay, it's all right.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah, I'm Bert.
All
Most of
good.
us are part of the VFW too. Go ahead.
You have a recommended amount or a requested address?
Well, if you peruse that little sheet there, you'll see there are some categories that you can go from Patriot to Red, White, Blue Sport or whatever you call it. And that's certainly up to you. I'm not gonna tell you where to go, but any contribute things you add to will just help us out. I can just tell you that the fireworks themselves, just the fireworks are over $10,000. So it's a spendy little item, and for 20 minutes of entertainment, it's, we get it, it's only 20 minutes, but it's really an important 20 minutes. In this community, truly it is a tradition. And the Fair Board has been sponsoring us at the grounds for years. And we just want to keep doing that. This is part of our way. We make sure it happens. Look, it's going to happen regardless, because that's what we want to do. But your help makes it possible.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir,
I'd like to address a question to Keith, if I may, Randy. Is any of this ever in our budget?
No, that's,
Okay, if we were to do something, where does it come from? Where do the funds come from? Where can we pull them from?
I know
I can just bow out of here. You guys can discuss that. If you have any other questions, otherwise, Army's acronym or axiom is be brief, be brilliant, and be long. So if there are no questions, I'll be out of here.
thank you very much for
Very
your
well.
help.
Thank you.
Were there any other requests to address to anybody? Kathy, Chief? There are, just for the record, there are different levels of support here. Patriots at 1,000, Stars and Stretch level is 500 and up. Old Glory is 100 and up. Red, white, and blue level is 25 up to 100 and up. Throw that out there for my commission members to consider. We'll take a motion to do something like that. Personally, I'd like to see us participate in that. Years ago, people used to flood to other cities to go see the fireworks. And I think it would be awesome if we could have a good display here in town. Particularly this year after the year of pandemic, it'd be nice to support the local folks.
If I may, Mr. Chair, it may be, if this is something that the commission wants to discuss today, to do a change to the agenda itself and make it as a line item. Otherwise, we could put it on for next month, which is still prior to July 4th. The only reason being is I don't know if the commission wants to have it on that motion. Because oftentimes there is sufficient information.
The next meeting is prior to 4th of July, and I would entertain a motion to put it on June agenda.
So,
Also, all those in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Richard, it's up to you to make sure get what I've done there. Okay. Certification of accounts payable.
I have no issues with them, so I move to accept.
No second. I would point out to my colleagues that there were two payments to Cynthia this month. Ms. Owen looking forward to we've got June payment coming up right on the heels of this meeting, so she included the vote for approval, but the two large chunks show up on this one, but they are not on the ordinance. Motion's been made seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried. Okay, reports. Simple reports are included in the packets, as are the financials. Any discussions on any of those?
The other thing I would point out is there is an additional report in your packets this month, which is the Minnesota Department of Health Sanitary Survey Report on our public water system. It goes through, they do, they always make sure that they summarize contact information, operator certifications, descriptions of the wells, descriptions of the treatment plants, and our storage facilities, as well as some sample locations in which we did just some spot checking for bacteriological results, as well as just their ongoing recommendations for record maintenance and training on staff. It's an annual report, and so I did include it in the package for some permission and a copy. So that's in addition to the normal report.
Right. This is the one that has 106 pages of,
No, that's later on. That's another report.
oh, happy days. Okay, I'm good. I'm good with that. Oh, yes, I actually have one. Any questions on any of those reports before we move on? No. Okay. Updates. Any department updates? Generation plan, Scott?
Yeah, over in the plant, Ziegler was up for their inspection on unit number 7. They sampled the oil chambers again because of the previous trouble that we had with the air boxes, and they tested out fine and stuff.
Yeah.
They're test running 3 as we speak. We had a liner that was leaking water, and we did a repair to it. They're test running it to see if our repair held, and knock on wood, it's holding. The filtration showed up for the jacket water system. The guys will be installing that. And we're still working on a SCADA upgrade over there.
Good, thank you. Mr. Lynn?
Yes, in the distribution electric department, we continue to do the sticker and labeling of our equipment IDs. Part of our study we did a couple years ago, giving a unique ID to each individual piece of basically underground equipment. Doing up some service orders. We have a contractor here today doing a couple small underground projects for us. We got geared up for 2 of the probably the bigger ones that we're going to do this year. We're going to be getting rid of some overhead line over Mark Griffith's property, all by Steinbrecher painting out there. There's some concerns. We regraded his lot, so the lines are getting a little bit low for his equipment. So we're going to be going through there, putting some underground in there. And then there's another piece of single phase primary on the north end of town behind the mini storages by Main Pipes Industrial Park, home improvement shop up in that neighborhood that we're having a tougher time getting through. And the trees last year, we had a couple of bumps on it. So I think it's a good idea to get that placed underground. And it'll fit in nicely with our projects we've done in the past couple of years. Yesterday, the guys did get the blue summer banners up downtown. And then basically just GIS updates when it's raining. Locates pretty steady every day, and then just miscellaneous service orders as they come in.
Yeah, and those banners going up there. Let's see the guys all. Looks good. Welcoming signs to local principles. Okay. Water department, Mr. Davis.
Water treatment plant 1, that is the plant that we installed the actuators in. We are continuing to work on the actuators and getting the adjustment and the timing down of the actuators. It's kind of an ongoing project, and it's a little training for us too. We did finish washing the hydrants. We're currently working on our spill containment improvements. You probably noticed on the fuel tanks, there's some blacktop missing. We're also installing the gate opener at the same time. It was a good opportunity to make some improvements and install the gate opener. This summer, we're going to be working on raising some of the valve boxes that you drop in a wheel in, driving down the streets, and you wonder what you run over. That's what we'll be working on.
Good. City of Princeton. Mr. McPherson. Don't fight over this now.
You're fine, you're for neighbors first.
Oh. I will change that next month.
Oh my gosh, names. That's been working for you for a while.
Let's see, the city is, you finished your audit for case report. However, the city is still working through its audit. As you're aware, there was some multiple changeover in personnel in the finance area prior to my coming on board. And that is, so the new finance director didn't have time with the long-lived finance director to learn all of the various spreadsheets and miscellaneous data that needs to be converted in order to give the auditors what they need for their work. So they've actually rescheduled us for a couple of weeks from now just to give Tracy and Steve more time to kind of get all the ducks in a row. It doesn't help that the city's finance system is akin to caveman tactics from a finance perspective, in my opinion. I go from whether it's a stone wheel or a boat anchor, and depending on the day, and the frustration of trying to get data out of the thing in a format that even if you can get data out of the thing, you can't just dump it in their Excel easily. And so I am, as the administrator, looking very forward to when the audit is complete, because our focus will be turned to getting a financial software system, which will hopefully make everyone's lives easier. In terms of the city council held a public hearing 2 weeks ago on annexing the Sherwood Village, which is the manufactured home park south of County Road 2. We had a landowner request. They have not officially acted on it at this time because we did have a number of residents from the park come and speak and state some objections, as well as the township wanting to have an opportunity to meet with the landowner and basically see if they could accommodate the zoning needs that the landowner has in terms of its non-conforming status. You'll recall that that was part of the discussion at the work session on the Sherwood Lakes 55+ project that Mr. Owen was presenting to you. Otherwise, we're waiting on title work to be done so that our engineering firm can start the surveying, topography, and preliminary plat development for the industrial park. So it's moving forward, but we have some behind the scenes things that are needing to be finished before we can actually put together a plat and bring it to the planning commission's council. So I think those are the big highlights of what's going on in city offices. So
The only two items I would add, it's the simulcast project that we have going on. I mentioned that before. That's the tower to improve the towers in place by City Hall, and that would improve the radio communication for all emergency personnel. So we have another meeting. It's moving forward. There's a grant process, but there's still a substantial amount of money that has to be determined where it comes from. 290,000, something like that.
well, it's fluctuating between 270 and 290. I'm not quite sure. what
But,
numbers gonna be.
you know, we'll get that project done. It's, we're running with Sherwood County as well. Reach out to them too, because it enhances their system, Lax County, and so it's moving forward. The second fast, and I was bringing up because it means a lot. I want to see that done. That's a major part that will help in the time of crisis. We will talk to each other, so that's what we're moving forward. And then the other thing was a park board meeting. The park dedication fees are being reviewed by city staff and presented to the park board, updating rules of, you know, what should the park dedication fees be for, you know, the new development, Sugar Village and Sugar Lakes, and which is which.
Any development.
Any development organization has to. That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next report is back to you, Mr. Butcher.
On the regulatory side, we did complete our consumer conference report that is now published on our website. And is available to any customers that request it. We completed our loan forecast report for SIPA. And I also received on May 17th an updated notification of compliance from the NPCA regarding our air permit inspections. We're all in the compliance with our air permit. The next reports that we're working on is there is a Minnesota Department of Commerce SIP report that is due June 1st. We've provided preliminary information to SIPA, and they usually file that report on our behalf. The EPA's risk and resiliency report is due June 1st. Mr. Daniels has that completed. We're just waiting for June 1st to file that because it's a 12-month report that needs to be issued. And then the final big one that we have on our list is Minnesota Department of Commerce's electric utility annual report is due July 1st. And Kathy and I have been working on that one. On the administrative side, yes, our auditors were in the office last week, May 18th through the 20th. Kathy really took the lion's share of the work on that one, to work with the auditors, which we have all pushed into. They are estimating completion of the audit to be June 9th and trying to be incorporated into the city's audit. Working with Tracy, that's the date that she had given me with the work and with her schedule. So we should be able to meet that. I guess the question I have for the commission is, do you want the auditors to come and present? You know, the commission, it's been a mixed bag. Sometimes the commission has it, sometimes they don't. It's up to you if you want the auditors to create. So, any feedback on that?
I would like to have that.
That's two. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so I will go ahead and schedule it back for the auditors. Probably, I will probably try to do it in 2 weeks. So that we'll have that. We're also doing a bill insert for the city in this month's billing. So we should be getting that this morning, I think, and that'll go out to the bills as well. And then we have PGR coming in Tuesday, June 8th to do a planning scoping meeting with Jeremy, myself. So we'll be having that meeting on June 8th. On the IT side, I've been participating in the city meetings, the city staff meetings, and the topic had come up regarding some recent instances of phishing attempts. Here at the utility, we actually have our staff go through cybersecurity training, and it really wouldn't be that big a deal to add in the city staff. So I offer that to Michelle to include them in our cybersecurity training. So we're going to go ahead and work on that together. It'll help their staff out. So I think it's just a good way to continue to work together, make sure we're doing the best we can. On the ESM side, we're continuing to post pictures of participants in our rebate programs on Facebook and on our website. Do want to mention that on the legislative side, there was some major energy legislation that was passed last week It's really the biggest energy policy legislation passed for a long time, probably almost going back to 2007 with the Next Generation Act. And it's called the Eco Bill. It's been the culmination of, let's say, at least 6 years worth of work between the investor-owned utilities, the co-ops, the municipal utilities, the environmental community, business community, as well as low-income advocates, which includes a lot of revisions to SIP, which is our energy efficiency efforts, and established more rigorous fuel switching guidelines, accounting for electric vehicle adoptions, as well as extending some of the local programs. So there's quite a bit of stuff in there, but it was a pretty major event at state legislative level. I don't think the governor signed it yet, but he's expected to sign it shortly, probably. I haven't heard it. As far as the disconnects, we did resume full disconnects on May 20th. We're still doing everything we can to work with customers. And I anticipate that for June, we'll be pretty much back to our normal disconnection procedure. And then with the developments in COVID, just want to mention that Principal Utilities is continuing to follow CDC and NDH guidelines to current days to COVID protocols, which is, if you're fully vaccinated, you're not required to wear a mask, but if you're not, you still recommend to wear a mask. And then for that reason, I guess I don't see any reason to not reopen the power plant. We didn't do any last year because of COVID, but so we're reopening the market facilities and stuff under the new guidelines. That's what I have for the next report. Unless there's any questions.
Let me back up
Yes, sir.
just a second, because Mr. Pearson raised, I think it's worth asking the question about our IT systems in terms of accounting and that sort of thing. The dinosaurs running ours, are we looking at an update on that, or where are we with our financial system?
We currently use Power, which is a combination of accounting software and utility billing software. So ours tends to be a little bit more complex than what you would see most municipalities do because of the utility billing. That system is still used and it's being supported. I know a couple other systems that use it. It's not something that I look into at the moment. It continues to function and serve the needs that we have. As eventually as we look at getting more and more complex systems, it is something that I think is worth reevaluating every so often to make sure. But at this point, we're not looking at it. It's been unique.
That's good. My concern is that the systems that we have going forward, we're able to pull information out and share it in a way that makes sense with all the other software that we're using. So, situations where we upgraded one thing and all of a sudden everything else in the code is shut down. Different situation. So this is just a cautionary note. Be mindful.
Absolutely. I will also mention that I'm getting the name right. Power Manager was developed by the Nebraska Power Pool. Is who set that up originally?
I know those guys.
Yes, I'm familiar with them. So, and it is continued to be supported. We contract with your consultant who works very closely with Debbie. I talked to him as well about utilizing Power Manager in some different ways. So it is. We continue to get updates. We continue to patches. So it is a fully supported platform, which is why it hasn't risen to a high priority list.
As long as it's working and we're able to share information that produces better knowledge of the rest of the entire states. Many of the municipalities have their own generation stations. So it's interesting comparison to And ongoing business then, AMI status.
For the AMI, we are currently at 81.4% of electric meters have been converted. We're expecting delivery of about another 469 meters on June 4th. June should keep the field staff pretty busy. Report on water, we're at 29.8%, as I reported before. We're in a bit of a holding pattern with that, the product delivery issues. That they're anticipating to get, really not get our next shipment until August or September. So water is going to be, I don't expect that number to really change at all for the next couple of months, which is why it's mentioned that we're going to be focusing on new style lock replacements and making sure that we're keeping busy. For the electric vehicles, Aaron did ask you to report on updates for the DC fast charger. So for the month of April, we did record 21 sessions, so 21 different uses of the DC fast charger. We collected $148.80 and delivered 230 kilowatt hours. So 21 sessions, that's respectable. And I hope it'll grow. For the L2s, installations are going to be occurring today and tomorrow. So we have a contractor in town to help us with some of the boring, the underground work, and we'll get those set up. And we do have, we did file the signpost agreement between the city and the utility, as well as neighbors in the utility of the county last Thursday. So as soon as I get the those in, I will send Michelle will send a copy.
I'd like to make a note on EV chargers. Forgive me. I mentioned before that there's a little town, Dow's Island. My wife and I are trying to find that convenient gas stop. They have a row of Tesla chargers there. And I've never seen anybody, and I asked the guy at the station, anybody ever charged there? I said, oh, you'd be surprised, there's always somebody. Oh, we were there last weekend, a week ago. There were 5 people plugged into Tesla's chargers at that time. One pulled out, and another guy pulled it. And I was absolutely stunned. But apparently people are purchasing electric vehicles. So the world is changing. And I'm glad that we're kind of on the forefront, or at least some front. We're in the mix, and we've got chargers going in for people to use. I think that's a good thing. That's it.
If we'd like to move on to service territory. Okay. So all I really want to mention there is I am continuing to have negotiations with Decentral Energy for industrial park. So it's a process, but it is on. Service territory.
Convenience fees.
I don't have anything reported. That was a topic that Mr. Short wanted on the agenda.
Yeah. Say something first. After the joint meeting, the city basically said, well, whatever you see decides. As far as convenience fee. I would like to ask that we include the options for approval of convenience fee in our next budget proposal. Structure.
And have it be part of that discussion rather than separate.
Right. So that's, when we decide whether we're going to do it or not, is it's included in the budget and fee structure.
I would entertain it. I don't know if we need a motion, but I think that's a good suggestion. Now, our budget members in front of us make a decision based on what we know. Any objection to that?
No, I don't have any objection to that at all, but I think we should be proactive and take this time from now So that, to be pushing the ACH. To
Oh, absolutely.
get that out there with your billing, if it's just a little part, you know. I think somebody mentioned, or else maybe I dreamt it, you know, if you're gonna take a month to, say you get $2 off your bill, if you do it ACH, or, you know, be proactive in it somehow. And I think it's a great move. I think through time that we talked about this, that when we do make those changes, and I see, I don't know what the hydrant entity is about, but if there's going to be changes to our charges, that would be the time to do it. But I think we need to promote the fact that by you doing an ACH, you are saving yourself money throughout the whole PUC. If they don't know about it, they're gonna get shell shocked on the 1st of January, or, you know, whatever that time is. So let's promote the positivity of that.
Free options.
Okay, so the direction is just promote the ACH. Right. No, I don't. think so.
And that even just inserts Facebook over.
Yeah, okay.
You know, did you know that?
Yeah, this isn't a request to change anything. I think it's just it should be educational, because you can make it easier on yourself.
I think someone mentioned even at the joint meeting there, some people are offering a discount, sign up or something initially. I don't know if they want to go that far, but possibly. It saves us fees and staff time to have them sign up for ACH. I don't see why that might not be a possibility.
Regardless of what we decide on the decide, this is a good idea.
Yeah.
And it's worth it.
Yeah, we can do that. What I'm thinking though is, in anticipation of that budget discussion, if you go back to the original memo on the convenience fees, where I provided some background, I did have a series of questions in there, and it would be very helpful to me if each of the commissioners could respond, you know, via email or something, what your thoughts are on that. Just so that if the commission doesn't want me to come in with options, I want to make sure that the options meet the parameters of what we'd like to do.
Can you resend that?
Yes.
New business.
Well, the
It's still under ongoing.
I'm sorry.
We're still under ongoing business. There's a, wellhead
Is
protection.
there any other ongoing business? Not convenient things?
Yeah, I just did want to give an update on the wellhead protection plan. I'll give you an update on that. Progress had been delayed on our efforts due to COVID, as well as the retirement of longtime analyst George Myrick, who was the one who worked on the original wellhead protection plan 10 years ago. He's retired. We have been assigned a new primary contact in Chad Anderson. And so I did have MDH reach out to me a couple weeks ago. They're going to have an internal scoping meeting in the next couple of weeks. And then after they kind of figure out internally what they want to do, they're going to meet with Mr. Daniels and myself to go through a real scoping meeting that will probably occur sometime in late June, early July. So Scott and I will take care of that. And just as a reminder, we did have approved in our budget $30,000 set aside for contract work. We're probably going to have to do some. Well, Scott speaks better than I can in terms of what the contractor does. Can you give a quick summary? I'm putting you on the spot. Sorry.
I don't remember. It's been so long since.
But it has to do with the charisma, right? So we have to read.
The charisma part of it should be done, but there's still some engineering, if you will, part of it that we have to pay to have done.
Right.
There's some parts of the project that we just can't physically do,
Yeah,
that we have to hire done.
yeah, we just don't have the capabilities in-house, so it's something that we incur every time. So I just want to mention that's going to be ramping back up again here shortly. And that is all I have for ongoing business.
Now, no business.
Um,
Spill prevention, control, countermeasures. Well, these kinds of things.
Yeah, so new business A is County Road 4, 7th Avenue, fencing project for 2022. This is something that we're working with the city on and the county. And so Michelle's been taking the lead on that. We were trying to meet with the county engineer, but something came up. So we are reaching out to Mille Lacs to find out what their plans are. What is that issue is they're going to be redoing that street. And since they have everything bricked up, it's always a good time to look at your infrastructure to see if it makes sense to replace it at the same time. The city has a sewer main that goes down that road, and we have our water main that goes down that road. So part of the conversation is going to be, okay, so while the road is removed, does the city want to replace their sewer main? Do we want to replace the water? That's the discussion that we need to have because what our next steps are going forward. And that's why we're looking with the engineer. So that will be an ongoing project. And if we end up having to replace that water main, that's going to be a significant cost for next year. So that's just to kind of get you familiar with that project. For section B, that's something I want to get some input from the commission on. And Scott and I have been kind of thinking about this. We have a situation with a couple of local uses in which there is a strong desire to use a nearby hydrant. As our current policy stands, for those who want to take water out of the hydrant, we really have tried to get people to take it out of our contractor hydrant, self-storage stuff. There's two uses where it would make it easier for them to take off of a hydrant nearby. However, we are concerned that hydrants aren't meant to be exercised on a regular basis. They wear out pretty quickly. They're there for emergency purposes only. And if they get used on a more regular basis, then we want to make sure that the utility is kept whole through that increased use. And if we need to repair the hydrant, we want to make sure that we collected them out to be able to do that. And so what Scott and I were kind of thinking is we might, it might make sense to offer a very limited service to those who need to pull from a hydrant. We would really want to limit this to only nonprofit or government entities. This is not something that we want to get in the habit of doing. But give a mechanism for a couple of folks to be able to pull water where they need it very quickly and very easily. To do that, we were thinking of still charging our hydrant rate, but for anybody who wants to specifically pick a hydrant, they would have to pay an annual non-refundable fee of $350. The reason we picked $350 was because we figured, well, if we start exercising this hydrant, you might have to do some work on it every 5 years. Well, 5 times $350 is $1,750, and that's about what it would cost to replace the parts in the hydrant. So we're not trying to make money on this. We're just trying to help out the community. It is a deviation from what we have done in the past, and we also have some other terms. And there's a memo that goes through this in more detail. We want to make sure that we have backflow preventions in place. We want to make sure that it's done at certain times of the day so that we can monitor it. We want to make sure that our reporting is accurate so that we're billing appropriately. But I wanted to see if that's something that the commission would. Is there any thoughts at the moment? it's an idea we're keeping around, so I kind of wanted to put this out there as part of the start of the discussion.
How does this happen if somebody wants to, I mean, they have to have an employee there, right? You just go up to it and start taking water.
Most, for folks that we're dealing with that are used to doing this, they'll have a wrench. A lot of them
Correct.
will have a hydrant wrench,
Yes.
so they can do it. You know, one of the examples is the fire department. And obviously, they know how to, you know, open up a hydrant and stuff like that, but, you know, they need water for trainings and all sorts of other things. And so, no, they can do it on their own. Part of the reason we did put in here that we want this program to only be during our business hours, so that, you know, if we see people outside of normal business hours, we can stop to it, so that we can track things, and make sure that everyone's held accountable.
This-
We're doing it properly.
So is the water usage tracked on?
So there's two different ways we could do this. One is we do have a hydrant meter that we can put on. The other way is typically if you're filling a water truck, 15,000 gallons, and you just record it. You just say you fill the truck, so it's 15,000 gallons, and that's been good enough for our traffic.
As long as it's, because I know you have to do reports on, you know, to make sure we don't have a water leak somewhere.
Right.
You're tracking the water that's coming out.
Right.
This is the power system.
Yeah.
Um,
And as I mentioned, this is not something that we would make available to private entities, the contractors, we still don't keep them here. It's just a way to help out some particular end users.
Is this one of the issues that the past mayor had didn't think about? What you call that? A hydrant or? does it matter?
You know, he was saying something about the fire department, but I don't remember exactly.
This
Yeah.
is something in the past.
So right now we have a place for this to happen.
Correct. We really steer everybody to our contractor hydrant.
Right. And so what you're suggesting is maybe there's another place that we could do this for, that would be closer for example, the fire department or.
Could you just leave a meter on those sites, or is that something that you put out temporarily?
It's a temporary, trouble with it, there's no good way to lock the meter on, and that meter's about $1,700. Well, if you leave it on, my guess would be it's gonna disappear.
But by the same token, if we want to use, and I don't know who else might be interested, if we use the fire department, I mean, we like those guys, so if they say, hey, we're gonna do this, we got a 50,000 gallon truck, we filled it twice yesterday. Twice, Kathy makes sense. Somebody makes it work, and they just build it in the appropriate fashion. I don't know who else there might be out there that's nonprofit, but someone might. And so at least they could come and say, hey, we'd like to use that other one or this one. I don't think we need to have everyone in town. If we don't want to use that one, we want to use this one over here. I think expanding a little bit for people like the fire department who have a regular need rather than drive all the way over here and fill the tank.
And our thought was in this program, we would identify specifically which hydrant they can take from. It would have to be approved by Scott, so it would have to be on, you know, as a water main, so that we don't run into any back flushing issues or, you know, whatever. Just to make sure that the system is maintained, but still try to help out. And we thought $350 per year was a very valuable amount to help cover the wear and tear on the hydrants.
I guess I'm confused a little bit. If people have these wrenches out there, they can go anywhere they want.
That's always a challenge.
Yeah.
It's always a challenge. Contractors are always a big challenge of chasing them around town. And we find that if you try to hold them real tight, you start losing track of where they're going. You gotta play with them a little bit to get them to play ball with you. Typically, we haven't had a whole lot of trouble with that. It's been working pretty well.
Yeah, but you had to chase a MinDOT truck down the highway.
I've done that once too, yeah.
Well, it's not just contractors, it's even government.
Yeah.
We had a problem with MinDOT.
But if they don't know that they're doing something wrong or not following.
Well, they know they're not supposed to.
Well, if it's, if they did it from that when you wanted to go there, they don't know there's some kind of violation from this, that, or the other thing. They should just take it, I get that part. But if they don't know that that's the designation on where you want them to take it, then I'm sure they don't feel they're doing anything wrong.
Well, if, no, because if they're reporting it, then they're talking to us and we're telling them. If the problem we run into is they'll pick a hydrant that's
Close.
yeah, and maybe not necessarily the downtown, one of the further out. And, our concern is sometimes that can stir up the mains.
Yes.
And so then all of a sudden we have customers with water problems, why we direct them here. But when we have problems, because they are taking it, so they're not even being paid for that. So, yeah, it's an ongoing battle, and it's not just us, it's every water utility has this solution.
Get the ranch up eBay, I guess.
That's the problem.
I think it's a good start, and it's good, sounds fair, it sounds like, not like you're gouging, it's just trying to replace cost of use, wear and tear.
Yeah. So it's, I'm not, I'm not asking for a motion at this point, it's something I want to introduce. Have people think about. It's probably something that we wouldn't really implement until we again get into that budget discussion and set up a fee schedule for the year and include it at that point. So this is the
Carry on. So I don't know where that was, B or C or where we are with that.
we are on C now, seasonal water service shut off discussion. So, the commission may recall, that we had a conversation last fall, about seasonal water service shutoffs. We never really had a very clear and concise policy definition. And it was something that I felt that I'd like to kind of get written down as to what our rules were. We were kind of, we're just kind of taking care of a few people, but it's always nice to have something written down as to what that policy should be. And the commission directed staff at that time to come up with some ideas on what a seasonal water shutoff may look like. And so your memorandum 21-19 is that. Is to offer shut-off services to residential customers who will be away for extended periods of time during the heating season. And so it's a modification, or I should say it's an addition to our water service rules. And really, as Scott and I had talked about it, we felt that there were a couple of important points to make in such a service. One is our thought was that we would continue to do that. Let's see. Well, let me just read through the proposal. It is for residential customers that will be away for an extended period of time, which we're defining as 1 month or more during the heating season, may request that the Princeton Public Utilities shut off the water at the curb stop to help in the prevention of freezing pipes in the home. The service is available at no charge once per heating season. So the idea is if somebody decides they want to come back over Christmas and then leave again, well, okay, if we have to do it the second time, then we're going to start charging our normal labor rates for it. But we'll do it once. Shut-offs and turn-ons must be scheduled at least one full business day in advance. The customer does not need to be present for shut-off, but must be present during turn-on. Participating customers will be responsible for paying any and all monthly charges associated with the account. It is recommended that the house be drained to remove the water from the pipes after shut-off. In offering this service, it should not be implied that the Princeton Public Utilities Commission is assuming any liability for damage caused by freezing pipe. The customer remains responsible for all maintenance and upkeep of the property. We felt that those, and it is designed for residential customers. And we felt that that kind of summarized what we're doing, what we have been doing, but also kind of codified to some extent, kind of what the expectations are, what the responsibilities are, what we can do, and when something is beyond the scope of what the intent was. So that's the proposal, is to add that into our water system, so that staff are clear as to what we can do.
How big an issue is this? How many folks do we have requesting?
Not a whole lot. Yeah, it's a handful, but it's a lot of repeats that have been doing it for a long time. But you know, it is one of those things where, well, we're gonna do it, we should make sure everybody is aware that that's service for everybody. So it's not, you know, just for a select few. And then if you're do that, then probably should ask who's down. There is, I mean, if the commission wants, we could just stop offering. I mean, that's always an option as well. But it's just, that's okay.
Well, I for one would definitely think we would want to have this codified in some ways, somebody has. You know, yes, here, these are the rules, these are the charges, these are the expectations. Some of them they don't have a, yeah, but you didn't tell us that. There are reasons to have someone present when you turn it up. Don't just go turn it up. So it's pressures, which could be significant. Particularly if they're drained also, land hit it with water, something pops and their basement is 3 feet deep, there's fish in there, you know, get under it. So I think it's important that we have not only the policy, but policy in a way that people are interested. I don't have any idea what a handful is. It might be 4, it might be 12, but there's some that you can say, okay, here, do this, here is the sheet, sign off, and we'll get you covered. So, I don't know, Scott, or one of the guys that was on, but back, wait a minute, we're going to Halloween, and then go back, and we've got Christmas.
And that was the issue we ran into last fall with the promise for extension, which is, okay, how many times? But, we've been doing it for free once to small out, like away from winter time, but it wasn't meant to be a repeat activity.
I don't know if you need a motion to put this policy in place. If you do, whether you will make one. If you need a direction from somebody on the board, we could probably agree about this fairly quickly.
You know, but for my comfort level, I always like to just have you guys just sleep on it. You know, I will put it on the agenda for next month for approval.
Sure.
If there are any questions, any additional information that the commission needs, please let me know.
I'd like to know what a handful is by next meeting.
Okay.
Just curious.
Okay. Otherwise, I can put it on the agenda for next month for approval at that. That way we just, you know, we're doing our due diligence.
Well, within that handful, I mean, is there 1 or 2 that go back and forth? The others are just on back. Are we dealing with, how many people are we dealing with that do multiple on and offs?
One last year.
I just remember the one.
You know, we're setting the stage for one president.
Well,
That we know of,
what I'm trying to do is establish rules
but the policy.
so that something that I don't use the policy, but make sure that staff understand the proper expectation.
The concern is that if it's a one-time no charge deal, then there's a perception that it's a no charge deal. It's not exactly. One time.
Correct.
I think
Go
more,
back to spring.
and more importantly is we put a policy and a procedure in place. We don't have to have this discussion every 3 to 4 years for the next 100 years. You know, we have a policy and, you know.
All right, that covers C. Moving to D, 5-member commission. Still?
We're on the spill prevention,
Oh,
control,
spill.
and countermeasure plan. And the plan itself is not in the packet. Michelle and Jules, if you really want it, I can send you a copy. 106 pages.
Yeah.
it-
No. That's
Oh. Got it. No. It's all good, Jules. There will be a quiz.
I got all I can do with this.
So we just simply call it the spill containment plan, but the formal name is spill prevention control and coverage. This has been a multi-year effort. It actually started under my predecessor, and it's involved SIMBA, DGR, engineering, and numerous principal utility staff over the years. It's a plan that is developed under the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency rules. And the whole intent is to prevent the discharge of oil into navigable waters and environment. And really the purpose is to help highlight the commitment of principal utilities to maintain high standards for spill prevention, control, and countermeasures through regular review, revision, and implementation of this SPCC plan for the electric generating and distribution facilities that are located right now. Like I mentioned, it's a long document, it's 100 pages. It is also very technical. It does require a signature, and you'll see that is on the inside cover. Our PE is Travis Zip, who's been working for DGR, so he's the one that has been working on this plan. The reason SIMBA got involved was because SIMBA was looking for a way to try to standardize this across all of the memberships. And we're all try to have the same expectations, so we're working with EPA. It makes it all easier to coordinate. It does require management approval by me, and really that approval just states that we're again committed to the prevention of discharge of oil to navigable waters and environment, that will maintain high standards for spill prevention, control, and countermeasures, and that we hereby certify that this Public Utilities Commission will commit the necessary resources to fully implement this plan and the manpower, equipment, and materials required to expeditiously control or remove any harmful quantity of oil discharge. This is an internal planning document, so it is something that, once approved, will be kept at the different locations. In particular, for us, the spills that we are most concerned about are obviously the storage tanks. Scott mentioned this earlier. We're going to blacktop work to help with some any potential spills occurring during cooling. So we did a little bit of work there. But even our transformers have a significant amount of oil in that. So we have spill containment and urge in some cases around transformers themselves. So if anything should ever happen, we need to contain it. And that's the intent. And this is containment at that point. Scott and his staff, so that could be Jim and Kenny, have really gone through this. They've been working on this, like I said, it's a multi-year effort. We've gone through and made modifications to our procedures and some of our infrastructure to meet the terms of this plan. And we've been in consultation with Travis on all of that to make sure that we're keeping up to date on it. There is a requirement that the plan be reviewed at least every 5 years, more often if there are any significant construction activities that are undertaken. And so it is a constant, it is supposed to be a living document. It includes emergency contact information should it still ever occur, what those procedures would be, and then lots of reporting requirements to make sure that we're tracking and inspecting and maintaining the facilities properly. So, I mean, to that end, I can, Scott and I can try to answer any questions you might have. Like I mentioned, it is an internal document signed by an external PE that's gone to the EPA. So it's not something that is, you know, any significant change approved by the professional engineer. If I am looking for a motion for the commission to accept the SPCC plan, so that we can finalize this and move forward with this recommendation.
Mr. Chairman.
Sir.
After reading the 106 pages, I came out with some questions. And I'm just going to read them all instead of one by one, just for time purposes. I just, when I was done reading it, I just, are we in compliance? You know, if that's a yes, then that answers a whole lot of questions. What is the response time if there was a situation? Meaning, who, in this part of my question, who does that? If we have a spill or something that's also, boom, we just realized what happens, who does what?
It's going to depend on where it is and who sees it first.
Yeah, I mean, our first strategy would be to stop the leak. To make sure it's contained.
We only receive fuel when there's somebody here.
Right.
Yeah, but if there were.
No, but I'm just saying that the tanker truck is only filled, they only fill us when we're, someone's here.
Yeah.
But the stop leak or the prevention, not prevention, but if there is an issue, the staff is taking care of that.
Yeah,
So
but I mean,
something
but
else,
if there's
yeah.
a need, it would be reportable.
Right.
Yeah, over 5 gallons.
Yeah, so, you know, all of a sudden, you know, especially if it's certificate involved, you know, PCA, I mean, yeah, I mean, we're an emergency management mode at that point, so we get into our normal thing, so, okay. How do you know, buckle everything down, get, you know, try to stop the bleeding.
The first step is with that.
Correct, yeah. We're the ones that would identify.
Yeah. With those answers, make a motion to accept.
Yeah, I read through it also, and, yeah, I mean, I think beyond that plan, there's gonna, you know, feel if something happens, there's gonna be a lot of common sense, equipment, things like that. They go on, they just can't put their report. I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried.
The next two items are on there simply as a result of the joint meeting. The commission already discussed the 5-member commission with the family.
I'm sorry, can you do that?
So the next two items, item B, which is the 5-member commission discussion, and item F, which is the pilot work group discussion. I merely put on there as a result of the as a placeholder for the commission. I don't have anything to present. It's more about, you know, I thought the commission might want to talk about it. Thanks, Scott, and that's why I want to give you the opportunity.
We don't have any meetings for either one of us, since they're joint meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have anything. Are you looking for something that says, this is our policy or this is our proposal?
I-
5-member commission?
I honestly don't.
Because you didn't know what else to do.
Yeah, I figured the commission might want to talk about it.
I just have one question, and I have brought it up to keep the phone discussions on the pilot discussion is we could keep the other commissioners up to date on what's going on. Obviously, you can't call us because it's a meeting, so there's got to be a way, you know what I mean? Well, I guess Jules could call.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, Yeah, that would be perfect. I guess I didn't think of that. I just knew that we can't. So after you guys have a discussion, if you want to, update with a messenger call or something, or email or whatever. I would just like.
I know initially when we first talked, being a work group, we didn't want to have minutes. Because it was meant to just have a brainstorming session and pre-discussion. And then any recommendations obviously would then be presented to the whole other bodies. But yeah, to Dan's point, he was asking about how he kept up to date on what the two we talked about.
I would be happy to be the person to do that. And
Yeah, I just,
we can do that. I think we've done that.
and it would just, it would shorten up our meetings if we had a little background.
I think, yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, and say that, if we come to, whatever we agree upon or disagree upon when we meet with this ad hoc. Maybe that, hey, Greg is in favor of this, or whatever, is that okay to do that?
Just a generalization. I just want to know generally what are discussed. It's kind of my point.
Well, yeah, so I mean,
I'm sorry, if you're going to be present, there's nothing wrong with you doing the synopsis of that meeting and sending it to discussion, say, here's what happened. Jewel said this, and Greg said he was great, so.
yeah.
You can give a quick rundown so that these guys know that we did have a discussion and that these were the points that were brought up. And so at least the next time we sit down to talk about it as a commission, we can say, this happened, what do you think, what your reaction was, or what do you think we could do forward? And then we can say,
Yeah, that's
this might be a good proposal, let's go with this.
I like that.
okay.
Yeah, as long as everything is legal to do that way. You're not saying.
Yeah.
It's, my point was
You're not
just.
soliciting each one.
These meetings can
You're
just.
saying what we met about.
Yeah, it's just meant to be just more of just a factual statement of
Right.
what was talking about. Yeah.
And then all do our.
That's now on your desk. But I think that's an appropriate way. And,
Sure. That's fine.
And even during those meetings, we could say, make sure you mention this piece because we think this is important or whatever. So,
Well, that's how we handle it. I mean, I see this in the past, the full council would be to give a brief summary of our first meeting.
Sure.
Once again.
And so, yeah, so you can.
Michelle would do that too. We can do it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to Dan's point, since they only meet once a month, it's a little, it feels a little more disconnected. Sure. So, yeah, I think that's.
So that covers point F. Or the 5. Yeah, that. Do we need to discuss something about 5 commission? Was it just something that you wanted to include in case there was a discussion? Let me make a statement. The idea of a 5-member commission has to be, my understanding is that it has to be brought forward either by the commission or the city council, but must be agreed upon. And then it has to be brought forward from somebody, some representative of us that takes it to the state legislature and says, we want to change this from 3 to 5. And so we have to kind of get everybody on the same page before somebody approaches the legislative portion. I know my colleagues are generally in favor of that. I'm not nuts about it, but I'm not going to argue the points. So, I think at this point, and correct me guys if I'm wrong, but the commission would find 5-member commission acceptable. At the nods would be
But I think the discussion was that it was going to be a while before it could be presented at the state level or the line.
Unless it's gonna have.
If I remember right,
Is the correct person. So, I don't, given that, I'm not sure we need to spend any more time on it today, but I think it would be appropriate for the end of the year to kind of wrap that up and say, okay, let's discuss it from our standpoint. Talk to the council about their interest. If they want to leave it at 3, that may be their choice as well. Who knows, but I don't think anything we do today on that particular subject is going to have much.
Just one question. I'd like to poll people here that before my time, if we went to a 5 commissioner, are there going to be people applying? I say that because it seems to me, I was just a visitor at the meetings, that prior to that, there wasn't a whole lot of interest on being a commissioner. And then because things that were happening the last 2 years, there seemed to be a lot of interest. And maybe this is a question that can't be answered, but I was just interested.
Well, I would say that your point is well taken there. I can think back even on the park board at one point, we had 4 members on the park board, it's supposed to be 7. And at that point, I became a park board member as well, so 5. And then all of a sudden, we have an influx of member or citizens that wanted to be on park, step down, whatever, and we had 7. And since then, we haven't had any problem filling it. But I agree with you. I think in times past, for PUC, since I've been on the council, there's hasn't been very many people that have applied for that. But you're right, in the last cycle, there's been a number of people. Yeah. So with that, that could happen. You know, could happen. There have been other boards and commissions in the city that don't have any. I mean, when we do the appointments, it may be one person for one spot. Very, I don't want to say very seldom, but well, occasionally there may be 2 that apply for 1 or 3 that apply for 2. Well, but maybe that's where, you know, a lot of it is word of mouth and sure, hey, you know, there's this whole thing. You could be a good person to serve on that, or you might want to apply. But if you
I don't know there's an answer for it, just if we went.
well, you're right on. I mean, I'm just confirming what you said.
Yes.
That has
If we went to 5 and we're still 3.
well, I guess we should know because of my term is up this year. We should know how long it come along.
Yeah. So that'll happen before we could actually.
Right. So that would be a good measure of what the temperament is now.
Sure.
Now that we don't have a controversial name.
Right. That's a good point.
So,
That's a little bit observation. You might have to, you know, when you do it, is that something in the bylaws? What if there's only 4 commission?
we left to
You know what I'm saying?
get anything passed if it was.
Say with a 5-member commission, and say that all passes, and then ultimately another 4 with lack of interest or qualification, whatever you want to call, whatever happens. To revert to 3 to function, and you are at 4 or 2. Who breaks that?
I mean, prior to leaving the county, we had difficulty filling vacancies on both planning commission and board of adjustment at county level. And they ended up operating with 6 and 4, instead of 7 or 5, then they just, I mean, it's a little different. You're talking zoning items, but, you know, I think we just kind of work around it. My suggestion would be, and this is a suggestion I'm opposed to our folks, is that, you know, you have YouTube and Facebook capabilities. I mean, it might not be a bad thing to consider, you know, some educational videos, a day in the life of the PUC commissioner or a park and rec commissioner or a planning commissioner, just to, you know, interview you all and encourage folks that, you know, don't be intimidated. It's a great way to serve your community, you know, on a limited basis. You know, you can shape the operations, shape the parks, whatever it is. I mean, it might be a way to educate and recruit at the same time. Just something that I just kind of jotted down here, that I think it's always challenging to, you know, people's lives are busy. They've got, you know, essentially kids in baseball or at the fair or 4-H or whatever, but, you know, it's these are really great ways for citizens to really impact and shape and help their elected officials, you know, make decisions and shape the future of their city. And so spending a little time on letting people know that it's not as intimidating as they might think, might be worth their while. So.
You go with the day in the life, might not have it.
Well, it literally means a day, but
I'm just kidding. I have a,
you know,
yeah, I have a, no, I know, that's what I recruited.
Yes, thank you for that. It's a good idea. We had interviews, Joe from Chamber Carlos came in, interviewed us about a year ago. So something along those lines, certainly doable, particularly when you've got commission open from the slot, might be the appropriate time to do that. If that's a thought. MMUA delegate forum, are we up to G yet?
Yes, we are. This is just to point out that our MMUA delegates form is needs to be updated. I'm currently listed as the representative with Ryan Grant as the alternate. Obviously, Ryan is still with us. We typically have the general manager as the MMUA rep and the electric superintendent as the alternate. So I'm making the recommendation that we assign Jeremy as the alternate rep for MMUA. So I'm happy to answer the question.
Require a motion on that part?
Yes.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Jeremy, it's all over. Just read it. Any other questions before we close our?
You have one more item on the agenda for next meeting. It seems to be that I just want to confirm that our meetings are this June 23rd and July 28th still work. I believe the chair has some travels in plan.
Basically, I'm gone for June.
So
I come back, you know, we've got, it's ridiculous, but it is what it is, and I'm blaming my wife for all of this. I will get back July 1st or 2nd, and I'm available for up till the 28th. If we could move that date to the 27th, I would be present. The 7th of July, is that cause a snag for anybody else?
No, if it's at 10 in the morning. If it's in the morning, you can do that day.
Actually, the towns work usually very good.
Oh,
And I'm not saying, if we could make that change, then I'll be here, otherwise.
That's July 27th. July 27th.
The July meeting will move back.
I can do that. I can do that. And then for June,
I'm just going, I mean, there's not a day in June that
do you want us to come to you?
I think, I trust that.
Kidding.
I know. I'll be in South Texas at that point, looking down.
All right, all right.
Iowa.
No problem.
So,
So the intention is to still have the June 23rd meeting, just that the chair will not be there.
certainly,
It is what the commission saying, that we still have the June 23rd meeting, it's just the people that.
yes.
Since we know that, do we need to assign a chair for that meeting? We never really did do a vice chair.
Sure.
I'd be happy to do it.
Pardon me?
I'll be happy to do it.
Get the most in here.
No.
I'm gonna get.
Okay, all right. Actually, you guys, I'm sorry, Amy, but if you could do a formal motion on that, we can. Acting chair, for the 23rd meeting, just so we have everything.
So in this case, I'll make a motion to make Dan the substitute chair for the meeting on the 27th of July.
No, June 23rd.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or just in that.
I'm looking at my calendar.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
just
that's
just
good.
the vice
You don't have
chair.
to do it per date, just make that.
Just, you can just, okay, motion maker. vice chair.
Be vice chair. All right.
Okay.
Say aye.
All right.
Motion's carried. Now,
I'll make a motion.
motion is made to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. We're done.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Oh, I have one other thing. I just wanted to thank you guys for changing this date. Because it's my operation tomorrow and I won't be here, so I appreciate you changing the date here. Thank you for.
See you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Third.